The council chamber was abuzz with reports of yet another battle gone awry. The invincible alien army, known throughout the galaxy as the Regran Horde, had finally met their match. A species that should have been easily conquered, yet was proving maddeningly resilient. Commander Jirak of the Regran stood before the Galactic Council, his face twisted in confusion and frustration. "It defies all logic," he barked, slamming a scaled fist onto the table. "They don't retreat when injured. They become even more dangerous." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. "You're referring to the humans?" asked Elder Syrox, a member of the long-lived Exiran species, his 6 eyes narrowing with disbelief. "Yes," Jirak spat, his frustration growing. "We anticipated swift victory. Their soldiers are primitive, relying on outdated kinetic weapons and fragile bodies. Yet, no matter how many we incapacitate, they rise. They continue, some with only one arm, others dragging their comrades, half dead, yet still fighting." The chamber fell silent as the holographic screen displayed scenes from the battlefield. Human soldiers in torn, blood-stained uniforms fought viciously, despite clearly being injured. One soldier, his leg mangled and bleeding, was still using his rifle with deadly precision, his jaw set in grim determination. Another, her arm dangling uselessly at her side, held her ground with a knife, eyes ablaze with defiance. "What drives them?" Syrox muttered, fascinated. "Why do they not surrender?" A hushed murmur spread through the room as a human commander, bloodied and barely standing, barked orders to his remaining troops. They didn't falter. They didn't hesitate. They pressed forward with a ferocity that seemed unnatural for such fragile beings. A younger alien at the table, from the cold and calculating Zitharan race, could hardly contain his disbelief. "Commander, these humans, are they some kind of bioengineered superspecies? Surely, no natural life form would continue fighting in such a condition." "No," Jirak answered, shaking his head. "They are not augmented. We scanned them. They're just humans." "Impossible," whispered another council member. "No species fights through pain and injury like that. Even the Regran warriors retreat once they've sustained enough damage." Syrox leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. "Perhaps they are driven by fear." "Fear?" Jirak's voice was dark and bitter. "No, not fear. If anything, they seem to thrive on adversity. It's as though pain fuels their resolve. My soldiers grow terrified of them. These humans, they laugh in the face of death. We have heard them joke as they fight, even as their comrades fall beside them. They must have no sense of self-preservation," the Zitharan delegate said, his antennae twitching nervously. "It's more than that," Jirak corrected. "They fight like creatures with nothing left to lose, but when they win, they grieve. They mourn their fallen. It's as if the pain of their injuries and the loss of their comrades doesn't break them. It strengthens them. They are united in ways we cannot comprehend." The screen changed to another scene, a lone human soldier, pinned down by alien fire. Blood dripped from a wound in his side, but he didn't stop moving. With grim determination, he pressed forward, planting explosives before collapsing from exhaustion. Seconds later, the alien artillery crumbled in a fiery explosion. "What are we dealing with?" a council member asked in awe, watching the footage replay. "How can they endure this?" "It's their spirit," said a soft voice from the back of the room. Everyone turned to see a new figure standing at the edge of the council chamber. A human ambassador, tall and solemn, with a scar running down his cheek. "We don't fight because we're fearless. We fight because we know what's at stake. Our home. Our people." The room was deathly silent as the human approached the table. "Pain doesn't break us. It drives us. And as long as one of us stands, we will continue to fight. You can wound us, you can break our bodies, but you will never break our will." Syrox leaned back, his mind racing. The human had given him the answer. It wasn't superior technology, or even biology, that made humans so terrifying on the battlefield. It was their relentless spirit, their unshakable will to protect what they loved. "You should know, Commander," the human ambassador continued, his voice a low growl. "Every time you send more of your soldiers, you strengthen our resolve. Every injury you inflict only deepens our bond to one another. And every life you take ensures we will fight to the very last breath." Jirak stared at the human, realization dawning in his eyes. The Regran horde had never faced such a foe before, one that could not be intimidated, one that could not be broken. The council chamber was filled with a heavy silence as the humans' words sank in. The galaxy had misjudged Earth's greatest weapon. It wasn't their technology or their brute strength. It was their unyielding will to survive. And now, the entire universe would know. Jirak stared at the human, realization dawning in his eyes. The Regran horde had faced countless enemies across the stars, civilizations with superior weapons, faster ships, even species genetically modified for war. But they had never encountered anything like this. Humans weren't simply soldiers, they were something far more dangerous. The council chamber remained in stunned silence, the weight of the humans' words settling heavily over the gathered alien leaders. Elder Syrox was the first to speak, his voice a near whisper. "You cannot be broken, can you?" The human ambassador's eyes gleamed with an intensity that sent a chill through the room. "No," he said firmly, his voice unwavering. "We fight for each other, for our home. And when you threaten what we hold dear, we will not stop, not until the battle is won or until we fall." "But surely," Jirak muttered, trying to grasp at some semblance of understanding, "there must be a limit, a point where your species will falter, where the pain, the loss, it will overwhelm you." The human shook his head slowly, a grim smile touching his lips. "You misunderstand. Pain doesn't stop us, it sharpens us. Loss doesn't break us, it binds us together. We are a species that has learned to endure the unendurable. You may defeat 100 of us, 1,000, even 1,000,000, but as long as a single one of us remains standing, the fight goes on." Syrox, his many eyes wide with both awe and fear, leaned back in his seat. "Your people are unlike any we have ever encountered." "Perhaps that's your mistake," the human replied, his tone low and dangerous. "You saw us as fragile, weak, but we are survivors. And now, you know, when we are damaged, we don't fall, we rise." The council chamber fell into a deep, uneasy silence as every alien in the room came to the same chilling realization. The Regran horde, the unstoppable force that had conquered countless worlds, now stood on the brink of facing an enemy they couldn't predict, an enemy that would fight and keep fighting, no matter the cost. Jirak's breath caught in his throat as he considered the implications. The human was right. The more they pressed, the harder humanity would push back. The more they damaged them, the more they ignited the fire in their hearts. At last, Elder Syrox spoke again, his voice barely above a whisper. We must reconsider our approach. This war cannot be won the way we thought." The human ambassador straightened, his gaze sharp. "It's not too late to stop," he said quietly. "But if you push us further, if you bring the fight to Earth itself, I promise you this, there will be no retreat, no surrender. Humanity will fight to the last breath, and the universe will tremble." With that final warning, the human turned and left the chamber, leaving the Galactic Council in stunned silence. For the first time in their long imperial history, they had encountered an opponent not bound by the rules of war they had come to rely on. And the galaxy would soon learn the cost of underestimating humanity.